Hey, welcome back, everybody, to No Context Bros with Topher, Steven, and yours truly, Ronnie. This week, we're going to be tackling some more, questions and, kind of taking a journey and getting to know us a little bit more. Second episode in, so I know you got to know us a little bit last week with the outer space questions and whatnot and how it ties back to our faith. And this week's going to be diving a little bit more into our careers and what we do professionally. And so we'll jump right in. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, fantastic. How are you, Ronnie?
I'm doing great. All right, so I think we kind of mentioned it a little bit last week, but I think maybe we can start by just talking about like what we do for a living, and I'll let you guys kind of kick it off. Steven, I'll let you kick it off.
Sure. Yeah. I would describe what I do for a living as herding cats. My official title is project manager, which can be a lot of different things. I kind of like a jack of all trades in the organization. I could talk all day about what I do, but essentially, I help people finish the things that they want to do. So kind of lead people to decisions, identify blockers to the projects that they're in, try to guide them through what those blockers are. And I'm personally pretty passionate about project management as a career. I think a lot of times it's maybe viewed as a skill, which it is a skill, but it's also a career path. And I've kind of discovered that in my early career. So in my first few years, and as a professional, I've kind of made it my goal where I work to forge a path of leadership within my career space, and and help people see the value of project management, rather than, like I said, just kind of that like a skill on your resume. So it's an interesting challenge because a lot of people don't really fully understand what project management fully entails. So a lot of food for thought there, but that's kind of my job in a
Yeah,
nutshell.
I still don't. I still don't get it. Because in construction, project management sounds so different than that.
It's different in every career. Well, there's things that can be the same, like across project management, but like every career or every industry has a little bit of a different nuance. So
So you're like studied specifically project management? Like that's your degree?
Well, so my degree is actually management information systems, which is kind of like a bridge between business and tech. It's basically a business degree with a tech background. So, like the way I like to describe myself is a bridge between the business and the technology part of any company. So, like, you're always going to have your business leaders who want things and your technology people who can do things. Or maybe in the context of construction, you're going to have your business person who wants it built and your builder who's going to go build it. So you're always going to have that dynamic, and those two people don't always speak the same language. So as a project manager, you're kind of that person in the middle that can speak both languages well enough to be dangerous. You're not the expert in either side necessarily, but you have enough expertise and it's a lot of people skills to be able to kind of guide people to where they want to go. So it's challenging, but it's fun.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I know project managers from like a construction side because I worked obviously for a construction company for a little bit. But yeah, that's very interesting. The gap, it definitely needs to be bridged between, those two professions, I feel like. So that's really interesting. Chris, what about you?
Yeah. So I've been a marketer and advertising executive for like 13 years now. So in-house marketing, I've worked at agencies. I was trained 13 years ago by a guy from the Mad Men era of advertising. So, you know, nice guy, but, a little bit crazy. And so far, it's been good. And then as of a month ago, I started my own marketing firm. So I left my nice corporate job to be an entrepreneur. And
You stuck it to the man.
Yeah, definitely. I know what I'm doing with marketing and advertising. Running a business is a new venture, so it's been a fun month so far. But it's actually it's going shockingly well. My wife's surprised. My father is. My cats are. So
Nice.
you know,
And
I think we'll
That's
survive.
awesome. Congratulations.
yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
a
huge.
huge career step.
I know we need a soundboard so we can add like.
Yeah, right.
No, that's awesome, man. And then for myself, I just switched careers. I was an accountant. I don't know if I was a good accountant, but I was an accountant. And now I'm a recruiter in the profession. So for accounting and finance, I help people find new opportunities within the field. So it's really nice because it allows me to meet people. And, I come from a marketing, salesy type background. So prior to getting into accounting, and then now I can kind of apply my interpersonal skills to combine that with my accounting knowledge and help people in the field understand their issues and kind of what they're dealing with and what they're looking forward to. So it's really nice. It's really rewarding. I get to meet a lot of interesting people. So I've really been liking it so far. That kind of leads me into my next question, because I think we've all, had a couple jobs by now. But I thought it would be interesting to take a little drive down memory lane there and talk about our first jobs we've ever had. Chris, I'll have you, or Topher, I'll have you kick this off.
Yeah. So my first job ever was DeBella's Old Fashioned Subs. So I started working there.
DeBella's, those cookies.
They're so good. Yeah, no,
shout
DeBella's obviously was my downfall, because I still love it to this day. But one day, I think my dad came to pick me up after school. Or no, I think it was my mom. My dad had the connection with this. They're like, get in the car. And they drove me to the DeBella's on East Ave. And I walked in and they're like, you're here for an interview. And I'm like, what the heck? I've never had a job. I had just gotten my working permit. I don't even know what maybe 16, 15? I don't even know what's legal in New York. But
it depends on what you're doing.
yeah, I know. A little farming labor. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so they dropped me off. I had my interview, and I worked there. Actually, I think I worked there a little bit into the start of college too, but definitely junior and senior year. I was at DeBella's on East Ave, and then I switched to a different location. But
Interesting.
fun
Very
job.
interesting.
Weird people. Fun job.
I can imagine, especially over in that area. And if anybody, shout out the Dirty Rock, but if anybody knows East Ave and where that DeBella's is, I mean, that's,
Yeah, because
that's a definitely a different area.
it's borderline too. Like, so it's weird
Yeah.
because you have like Brighton, then you have like the city, and then you have like the nice part of East Ave, and it's all like, all three are like, you take one street down, on the other side of the Wegmans, you don't know where you are.
That's the thing about Rochester. You can be going fine, and then you take one turn, and you're like, oh, this is a little bit different.
Yeah, the Kia boys, they'll get you out there. Right down the street. That's where I used to work. I remember my first day at the company down there. Literally, a guy stole a car. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing ever. Right down the street from that
Wait,
DeBella's.
what was your first job? Is that what you're saying? Oh, you're saying
No,
at that
no,
DeBella's.
yeah. I'm saying, yeah. We'll get to mine. Steven,
I don't
what
want
was your
any
first
trouble.
job?
I also started my career in the restaurant industry. I was at Arby's, but what was unique about this one was it was on the thruway, so it was like one of those thruway rest stops.
Oh my god,
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
it's a
Oh,
that's crazy.
sorry.
Oh,
It
yeah.
makes me want to vomit thinking.
I just figured those people
Yeah.
lived on the thruway that always worked there. I didn't know they actually like lived off the thruway. Like, what was that commute in there? Like, what were you driving there? Did you get
I
dropped
always
off?
I always thought you could only get there from the thruway too, but you can. It's like a little back road that you can access. There's like a
Are you
back parking lot.
serious?
Yeah,
So you didn't get on the thruway to get to those rest stops? There's a different street.
it's like in Henrietta. Yeah,
Wow.
That's
Or
crazy.
it's technically Scottsville. Yeah.
I never would have.
Scottsville.
Because is that where you grew up, like that area, Scottsville?
Yeah, yeah. I technically grew up. I went to high school in Scottsville, but I kind of grew up outside of the the city of Scottsville. It's like the smallest school district in Monroe County.
The city.
Again, another
The
rock.
city,
Yeah, they do have a sign that says downtown Scottsville. It's comical because it's literally like a mile loop around the school and the village.
Is
lived
it
here my
bigger
whole
than
life
downtown
in
Wendell?
You know what? It's probably about that size.
Nice.
Honestly,
Beautiful.
a very small town.
Beautiful.
Edgy. You're edgy today.
Yeah.
Well, I think I got you both beat with my first job experience. So my first job was milking cows, like a true farm boy out in Hilton. My mom worked for the USDA, hooked me up with this farm that was way out of they were a little behind the times. And yeah, I milked cows for probably like a couple months. And I just remember this lady, I forget her name. Probably a good thing for this, but
Mildred.
yeah, Mildred. Farmer Mildred told me not to go out the back door of the barn, and I was just like, yeah, okay. And I remember a cow got loose or something, and I had to go out the back, and I ended up going out the back door. What I didn't know is that the back door was level. Like if you were looking at it, it was level, but what you didn't see is it was like a drop off, like in track where they drop the track off, and then it's like, you know what I'm talking about,
no.
that
Yes.
one
Did you
event.
fall in a pile of cow poop?
Oh yeah, went right in foot first. My boot filled up with cow manure, and
Oh,
I never went back. That was the last of that job. I said,
So many questions. How fast is
sir.
a cow moving when they get loose? Like, is this a full-on sprint, or is it just like a...
no, it's not like a full on sprint. It was just like we noticed they were loose, and then we just went to grab them. It wasn't like
just,
they were like
wandering. Like,
grab them by the udders?
yeah. But cows are nasty, man. They
that's
are.
nice. That sounds good.
Nasty animals. Like when you get in between them, they lean on you and they whip you with their tail, and you gotta dip their udders in iodine, and then you got this vacuum that just sucks up the udder. It's intense.
Let's not
This
make our
episode
listeners
might get flagged.
Yeah, have you seen Napoleon Dynamite? Because that's what this reminds me of.
I only seen his dance.
No, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta see that movie. Yeah, you're describing a scene from it.
That's funny. But definitely not my favorite job. But that leads me into, kind of our next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is what you're doing. What was your favorite job? Is what you're doing now? Would you consider that your favorite job? Or, what's that look like to you guys?
Steven? What are you feeling?
It's interesting because when you guys were talking about your careers, I feel like you guys have hit the point in your career where you've made a big shift. Like Chris, you kind of dropped everything and started a business. Ron, you definitely shifted your job totally. So I'm still in my I guess first phase of doing what I was doing when I graduated school. So I mean, I like my job now. Is it a forever job? Probably not. But I don't know. It's almost, sometimes I sit back and think the most fun I ever had at work was that first job at Arby's, because it was literally just it was chaos. And did I enjoy the actual work? No, but did I enjoy just, it was me and another kid my age, and we were the only kids our age, and everyone else is they're well past our age. They're lifers, but it's me and this other 17-year-old kid, and we're just running the place. Yeah, it's so anyway, I don't know. But to me, a fun job would be total. It's probably something like starting a business, Chris. It's total autonomy. You kind of just you kind of run with your own vision. And is it a little scary? Yeah, but I ultimately want to get to the point where I'm not working for someone else. So
You want to stick it to the man too.
Yeah.
I know. What about you, Chris? What was either your favorite job, or what do you think would be that favorite job?
Yeah, I mean, it's I kind of see what Steven's saying about some of my favorite jobs were kind of the mindless stuff.
Yeah.
Career wise though, I'm starting to live it. I can feel it already a month in, me setting my own schedule, me doing my own networking, setting up an office space, all this stuff. Uh, it it feels right. Like it's where I'm supposed to be, and um, I'd be shocked if it wasn't, my favorite career move. Now, I think the other thing that kind of excites me about it is, even though, like, trying not to get ahead of myself, it opens up more doors for other things, like other entrepreneur stuff I can do, whether that's real estate investment or starting a ministry someday, something like that. So, yeah, it's exciting times. I've enjoyed a lot of my jobs because I've had some of the weirdest bosses that have ever lived, but including now. So, I'm kind of crazy.
You get some weird bosses when you work in the restaurant industry.
Oh yeah. Some of my favorite, but weird, especially in the like you said, restaurants. Like I worked for a country club, and these just creepy old men would just like, we're the managers, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, who put these guys in charge? If they were managers now, I don't know if they would like actually have jobs.
Wait, did you ever work in actual like restaurant, or either of you in like food service, like where you were a waiter?
No,
I did. So I had, I'm actually on my 27th or 28th job I've ever had in my entire
I don't know
life.
how that's possible.
I can list them all if you'd like.
No, I think
know.
we're okay.
I don't know if I can. But
you got to write them down and eventually list them.
I mean, I'm like career-wise, I'm on like my third company, but like before I got serious, like when I was in college, when I was in college, I worked 2 jobs, and there was a summer where I had like 7.
It's amazing that there's even time for that amount of jobs. I mean,
I can't imagine doing your taxes. Like, I think I would go crazy.
Well,
another
time.
Another time.
Another time. But yeah, out of all the jobs I've had, I think where I'm at now, I think it could potentially be my favorite job. I think it's so different than what I've been doing, so it's very hard for me to, I'm building a book of business. It's similar to starting your own business in a sense. I mean, yeah, I have a reputable name behind me, but I have to build my own book of business and whatnot. But I would say, yeah, those jobs that one of my favorites. I mean, before like professional jobs, like was working at the country club. I loved doing, like, we would go and we would have tournaments on Mondays, and like we'd have a beer, in the morning before anybody like came around, like it was just like, but we were like,
which country club?
21. Yeah, Ridgemont Country Club. I'll say it.
Oh,
yeah.
If I was going to join anywhere, I would want to join.
Oh yeah, the members there are awesome. I mean, it was such a great. I bartended, I served, I worked weddings. I remember I spilled creamer on a bride's mom, like
sick.
At a wedding. I spilled water on people at a wedding, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then, yeah, but it's my favorite job. I mean, ideally though, I would like to do like Chris, to me, like I think what you're doing, is, like I said, I think it's really inspirational. I don't know if I said it on the last episode or not, but I think, because we didn't really talk about your career, but it is, I think it's, something we all strive for eventually. And I think it's really cool.
We'll find out if it stays that way.
Yeah, I guess, to be continued.
Yeah, not everybody's built for it either.
Chris figure it all out?
Yeah, not everybody's built for being an entrepreneur either. So it takes a real...
Fair. I didn't take as big of a risk as, one, there's not a lot of overhead with marketing and advertising. Media buying, a little bit different depending on like how much budget, your clients are doing. But I had a couple clients lined up before I made the jump, just to be safe, honestly. Yeah. But I mean, I get it. Yeah, it's still a risk, but yeah. Now that I at least have a month to show behind it, it helps with the wife. So
yeah,
just a little more.
Shout out to wives. So yeah, I'm curious now, because obviously I think like the restaurant industries, because we all kind of in one way or another have worked in a restaurant, like, or pizza joint or whatever. But what's your craziest like work story? And I mean, I guess it could be like, I have a few that come to my mind, but I'm always curious, like especially when you're young, like you always get those like I don't know, just like crazy. Like I worked with a kid that used to take all his clothes off to use the bathroom at this garage I worked at. He used to drape his clothes over the stall. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing ever.
It's
But
different.
that's not the craziest one.
Wow.
But
I can't wait to hear what that is.
I know. Steven, what about you? What's a crazy story that comes to mind when you're thinking about? You look back on your golden years, as some would say, your glory days. What was a
As a
memorable
17-year
time
old, yeah.
as a 17-year-old flipping roast beef? I don't even know what they do at Arby's. They're not flipping burgers. I don't know. I've never ate at Arby's. Truthfully, I've
like
That's
never.
what's
tofu.
that's what's funny about Arby's. Like nobody who's worked there has ever heard of it or eaten there before they worked there. But yeah, I mean, working on the Thruway, I could probably write a novel. I actually worked there for like 4 years, so there's a lot. I would say one that kind of sticks out to me is it was my first summer there. So I was actually 16 when I started working there, and I started like right around 4th of July. It was like somewhere in the summer, so it's crazy. But like it's just people are coming in all day long on the Thruway. And I just remember like I was 16, so the only thing I could do was like do the fryer and like do the cash register. And that, like I said, there was this other kid that was my age, and we sort of both 16. And it's like he's on the register, I'm doing fries, and it's in the middle of the day, and there's only 3 people on shift, us two, and then there was supposed to be a supervisor. And like when you're 16 and it's your first job, I'm just like focused on dishing out fries and giving them to customers, like or putting them on the tray to give to customers. So here I am, like dishing out fries. I'm just loading up the thing, and then finally, like some guy waiting in line starts screaming at me. He's like, hey man, like, he's like, you got a whole bunch of fries stacked up, but you're not handing them out. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just waiting on the sandwiches. You got to wait for the full order, right? To hand out the order. And he's like, I'm looking back there. There's nobody making sandwiches. So I'm like, I go back there. And I'm like, yeah, I like just go back there. I'm like, oh, there is nobody making sandwiches. So I go up to the cash register. I like told my buddy, I'm like, I think we should probably pause. And he's like, I don't know, just go find the guy who's making sandwiches. So like, I ended up going to the other side of the plaza because there's 2 restaurants there. There's an Arby's and Tim Hortons. So I ended up going to the other side. I'm like looking all over for my manager who's supposed to be making sandwiches. And I go over and he's like on the Tim Hortons side, like just kind of hanging out with the girls that are over there. I'm like,
Of course he was.
here I am. I'm like, can you come over and make the sandwich?
Wow.
He's just like, yeah, man, I'll get to it. I'm like, yeah, there's no one doing it right now.
Dude, you're blowing up a spot. That's why, dude. You're making him look goofy, dude.
Right, yeah,
Oh,
here I
man.
am. Like,
Blowing up a spot. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
there's so
Oh
much.
man.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you? I know you've seen some things in that Pontillo's. I know you dropped the pepperonis on the ground and put them on the pizza.
DeBella's.
Oh, DeBella's. Why did I think Pontillo's?
Because I love Pontillo's. That's what it is.
Oh,
My
dude.
second
Pontillo's is the
favorite.
best pizza.
Oh, man.
Good. Bushnell's base in Pontillo's.
That's even. That's the one I thought you worked at, and you said DeBella's on East Ave. That's crazy.
I
guess I
did,
just
yeah.
missed Pontillo's.
Hey, it's all Italian, so.
That's true. So
Is
did
there
you
not
drop?
good pizza places there yet?
I haven't had pizza down here yet.
Not once? You
What?
lived
Not
there
once.
how long?
I had Domino's, but I don't count that, and that was before we moved.
That's a special craving.
It's a
Interesting.
Mike special.
Mike's. Oh, gosh, he loves that.
Shout out to Mike. I was just with him. He's gonna love that.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Your craziest work story at DeBella's, not Pontillo's.
See, I don't really have a lot of crazy stuff at DeBella's. I don't know. Does it have to be there?
Oh no, it doesn't have to be at DeBella's. I just figured
It
it
could
was
be
East
any-
Ave.
it can be
Yeah, I
anywhere.
was figured.
Yeah.
You know,
How do you
I'm
not
sure you
have
had some
something?
characters come into East Ave,
Oh, heck yeah.
but what's your craziest work story though? Well, I know. I feel like I've heard a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple. I don't know if it's like the craziest one, but it probably is. Freaking, I'm not gonna say it's the reason I left my last job, but it was definitely not helpful. I was my CEO and boss and friend would like to go out to eat every day. It was always cafes, expensive restaurants, all that stuff. And for some reason, we had another employee in the car, and we were going to pull out and we were going downtown somewhere, probably like a cafe on Park or something. And he put his tablet and his cell phone on like the front of his truck, like the windshield, I guess. But like
the
you know how it
dash?
kind of like goes into the like the hood that lifts up like on a truck, like there's a space, so it kind of slides down there, so you can't really see it on the windshield. I don't know, like the
Oh, yeah, I
hood's
know
like
what you're
this.
talking
The
about. It's like
windshield goes like underneath it, so if you
Yeah,
put something on the
sometimes you can
windshield,
push. Yep, I got you. I
yeah.
got you.
So we get on from Chilai to 390 north, right on the expressway. 100 feet on the expressway, all of a sudden you just see the tablet and the phone go flying. And I haven't told anybody this story yet, so my parents are gonna be too happy about this one. And so this multi-million dollar construction company, this guy's not much older than me, great guy, but he just doesn't have like fear of anything. So we're on the expressway and he sees and as we continue to drive after it flies off the truck, I start to realize he's starting to make plans for how he's going to retrieve his Samsung tablet and phone. And I'm thinking, is this the day that I die? I'm like, he's not really gonna try to get this. And traffic, you know how it is. Like, it's 3 lanes
Yeah,
of
no,
traffic.
yeah.
It's people going 65, 70 miles per hour. Like, there's no way you stop and do this. So he like loops around and gets on the other side, exits and comes back. And off to the side, going now 390 south the other way, he pulls off to the left lane. There's no shoulder there. It's just the median and the left lane. And these are people merging from 490 west, and the people that are continuing on 390
What is he
south.
doing?
Do you know what I'm talking about? It's what
Yeah.
the flyover is? It's right after the flyover. So
Yeah.
you can't see anything. If you're coming from 490 the other way, you can't see anything. And he pulls off to the side, gets out of the truck, and starts looking on the other side for the tablet and the phone. And I'm thinking, like, I'm going to die. And I'm trying to make a decision. Is it safer to stay in the truck or get out on the median? And I really think it was, like, get in the median at that point. Because if a truck hits us or something hits us from behind, it's amazing that we didn't die. Best part of this whole story, I wasn't participating in, because I was just in shock and, like, fear. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. The employee in the back is just like, oh yeah, we'll just get out and get the phone, because it's the CEO. He's trying to help him out. And so I start to participate. I locate the phone. I see it. I'm like, okay, we gotta pull up. There's a state trooper in the, like, those the crossovers, whatever, for each side of the expressway. I'm like, oh, I hope he like pulls us over or like stops this, because this is crazy. The guy looks at us as we pull up and just pulls out like he's gonna come towards us, and then just drives away. And the cop just ignores the whole thing. And I'm like, no, the one time I want like to get, so this ends quicker. Well, he ended up getting the freaking tablet and the phone. Both worked just fine. But
No way.
it was,
That's crazy.
I mean, it wasn't
We're
like
shattered.
the funniest
It's even
word
crazier,
story,
like-
but like it's like scary.
Steven, have you ever met him?
No.
Oh, it's even more funny because I know him and I met him a couple times. I met him in Wegmans actually, because he remembered me. What did he call me, Pedro?
Yeah, he thought you were Mexican.
Yeah, he called me
Or
Pedro.
it was either, he wouldn't mix up
maybe
your
it wasn't Pedro. It was
Juan or,
something like that. But it was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
well, there's a lot of Mexicans that
Good
work
guy.
for him. Yeah, he is a great guy.
Great guy.
Hilarious, but he's from Ukraine and he doesn't have fear of anything. So like stuff like that is just like, I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I don't want to. So I never got back in the truck with him.
Yeah, I don't think I would have either. I'm glad you're
crazy.
here to do the podcast today.
Yes, definitely. But,
You know, I think,
that's that one.
man, while you were telling us that story,
Your life.
I was just
flashing.
reminiscing on all 28 jobs I've had, and my craziest story. Obviously, I feel like if I know she's listening, so if I don't tell this, I feel like I'll get in trouble. I'll be in the doghouse. So my craziest story is I met my wife at work, which is ironically,
That's right.
you know, how we're all related. Chris's family tree.
Right.
Topher's family. I keep calling you Chris. Topher. Sorry, you need to wear a name tag, dude, on your forehead.
Topher for the T.
T.
I know we get
It's almost like a
negative reviews
TO.
for
Maybe
it,
we
but-
should make some hats.
Topher Curcio.
Well, that's Topher Curcio. That's the name of the company.
Oh, that's so smart, dude. That's so
Yep.
smart. But yeah, anyways, working. Can I say the company's name? I can say the company's name, right?
Dude, you can say whatever you want.
Are you ever gonna work
Yeah.
there again?
No.
I don't think you
So-
can, right? Because
I don't think I can either. Yeah.
Forget taxes. Let's
know,
talk about this one.
Wow. Yeah. Well, taxes for another time. So was working at Enterprise, minding my own business. Decided that I was just gonna do my own thing. Had just got out of a relationship for a long time, and I was just, but probably a little while before that, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do my thing, mind my own business. My good friend, he was a manager at that time. He was my manager. Brings in this girl. I'm like, what are we doing here, folks? You know what I mean? I completely ignored her. Didn't want nothing to do with her. Then she gets put in my cube. I'm forced to train her, and I'm a funny guy. You guys
I'm
know
her
that.
Brother.
I'm forced to train her on everything we're doing. So basically I taught her everything she knows, from the accounting to how to lie at work. And then I quickly got promoted to a manager because I'm the man at work. I was the man at Enterprise. They call me Ronnie Enterprise. And I got promoted to a manager, and we're kind of dating, and we're not telling anybody, including family. I'm just kidding. They'll enjoy that one. And I just remember this one meeting. My boss pulls me aside, and he's like, sitting, it's real serious talk, and he was like, there's no dating in the office. And I was just like, yeah, of course not, dude. Like, I'm looking right at him because I can do that. I can lie. I can look right at somebody and lie. And he's like, no, I'm serious. Nobody in the building is dating anybody. And I looked right at him and I go, oh my God, dude, there's somebody dating in the building? I go, I'll try to find out who it is. I was like, that's unacceptable. And I just remember just like walking out of that meeting, just feeling like this guy has no idea what's going on. And he didn't either. They had no idea. They had no idea what was going on.
Is that the guy that my boss knew, or met?
No.
Different guy?
Different guy. No, this guy is, he's a goofball. But that was great. That was probably high risks, like, that I took career wise, like that. I would have got fired 100%, but it's totally worth it. Obviously, look where we are today. I'm doing a podcast with my two brother-in-laws.
That's what we are, brother-in-laws.
Yeah.
To connect my story to yours. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
My boss was doing business with your former company.
Yep.
I did not know that.
He was going to, when he heard this story, he was gonna he's like, Chris, they almost prevented love. And he kept saying he was gonna go yell at them, he wanted to tell them your story, they almost stopped love from coming together. He was just frustrated. He couldn't believe it. It is a weird rule, kind of. A lot of companies are
it
pretty
is. I mean,
progressive with that.
I think it's a lot. I think things are. It depends. I mean, she wasn't directly reporting to me at the time, and we started as equals. When she started, I was her equal, and I don't know. I think it's depends. If you can keep it professional and whatnot, I don't think there's an issue with it,
Why did he say something to you that if you don't think he was suspecting something?
He was just
he was definitely suspecting. We were going to
He
college Syracuse basketball games all the time. Shout out to Troy. I don't know if he'll ever listen to this. He ought
Wait,
to,
Troy was your boss?
No, Troy's not my boss. No, he would just hook me up with free Syracuse tickets because he's a great guy.
Thanks, Troy.
And yeah, thanks, Troy. And
I'm still up here.
Wow. Yeah, I'll introduce you to him. I think you guys already met at the wedding. But
I met Troy. Yeah.
we used to go to Syracuse basketball games, and I just remember the one game. me and Sarah both look to our left, and we just see the guy from HR.
How do you even? Clearly, they like. Why
I'll
wouldn't
never
they do
forget his
anything
face.
now? Like,
Because I think at the time, like, I mean, it was encouraged. Like, it was a weird dynamic over there because you were encouraged to hang out and do things outside of work. You know, like as a group. You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
one-on-one, like I don't know. It was just weird. I think.
let's
Well,
just
if you
take
guys
this
were all,
male and
like-
female, put them
And
outside of
dude,
work
I know
together.
so many of my bosses that when I was at Enterprise met their wives at Enterprise. I just didn't stay. I did what all they did. I just didn't stay. That literally the head of risk over there like met she was like the front desk girl. Bunch of
Enterprises.
yeah. You want to find true love, kids? Kids, you want to find true love? Go to work
Enterprise.
at Enterprise. They'll pick you up.
There you go.
That's funny.
That is.
But that's probably my craziest work story. But yeah, I mean, I got plenty more though. One day we'll have to go through. Maybe we'll call it like Ronnie's jobs or something like that, and you guys can just ask
Yeah,
me
Go
questions.
through each of them.
Yeah, we'll just.
You got to
go through.
give us furnish the list beforehand, and then I'll ask individual questions.
I will. I think you guys would be surprised. And I think about it now. I'm like, well, I'm a recruiter now, and I help people find jobs. And who's better at finding people jobs than somebody that had 28 jobs? I'm 29 years old. I almost have a
Tell that
job for
story
every
and
year
read
I've been
for
alive.
Wow.
No, but I do tell them about how I started at a CPA firm when I first graduated. Worked 2 weeks, told them I had COVID, looked for a job, found a new job, went back, quit that day. And I just remember that guy, he looked me in the eyes and he said, "You're making the worst mistake of your life." And I looked back at him and I said, "No, that was taking a job here." And I got up and walked out.
Jeez.
I really
Yeah,
want to know
that
what
place
firm
sucked.
that is. Unless you
I don't think that one, I don't think I should name.
can't
but-
say. You got to
No,
tell
I don't
me
think
after,
I should
though.
name. I'll tell you after. Don't go to them. But
Interesting.
plenty of stories, though. Plenty of stories. But you know what? I think this is a good transition, too, because I think there's one thing that I've learned as I've grown more professionally is that I've always succeeded best when I can be myself at work and in my career. And I'm curious if you guys, do you guys feel like you can be, your true selves in the workplace, or do you find yourselves like being two different people, because I think for a while, especially in accounting, like, we have very dry-ish, I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's a lot of dry accountants out there,
Really?
And
I've heard
yeah,
this.
yeah. You believe that? A lot of dry accountants. And for me, I've always just been myself, and I think that's really carried me along, especially through my accounting career and then obviously where I'm at now, because I rely so heavily on myself. I mean, people will choose to work with you based off of yourself, not really anything else. I mean, it's the same thing with anything, I think, but I'm just curious, like, Stephen, from your standpoint, and Chris, like, are you guys your true selves at work, or do you, I don't know, button it up a little bit, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you just feel like you're not yourselves? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I would say, like, obviously for me, there's this mode of just kind of like relaxed and making jokes and, kind of a little more casual. There's dad mode where it's like I'm goofy and high pitched voice. So like when you put it that way, yeah, obviously I put on a very professional face that you guys probably don't even see that much, honestly.
Show it to us.
Yeah. So there's that. I think, do I feel myself at work? Yes, because, I can kind of use my skills the way I want to. I think the one thing that's lacking with my current job is, and any of the jobs I've had, is like, ultimately I want to be doing something where my life's work is for Jesus and like doing something for my faith. And I think right now it's not. I mean, I'm right in the thick of corporate America, and there's a lot of, Jesus isn't there. Just to put it frankly. And it's a good job, and I like my workplace. I like all the people that I work with, but at the end of my workday, I don't always feel very fulfilled, and it's not because I don't like my job. It's just because my heart's with Jesus, and ultimately I want to be doing something like that. So do I feel myself? Yeah, because I use my skills that I'm good at, but am I fulfilling like where my heart's desire is? Not yet. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad job or it's not the right fit for this stage of my life, but it also means like at some point I would like to probably do something else.
Yeah. No, I respect that. And also I think too, like, maybe right now in your life, like you don't need to, like there's another way you can get that fulfilling need, you know? So, but I would like to see you button it up sometime, Boris, man. Just like throw on the professional, like Steven's at work. I want to see that. I want to be in that.
Well, for starters, you know what, Ron? I would start by saying we show up to meetings on time.
Wow. Yeah, I'm never on time. Actually, never, ever on time. I get up at 5 o'clock. I'm still late for work. But that's me. Chris, what about you? Are you, especially now as you're branding yourself, are you yourself? Are you your true self?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that has always gotten me a job or gotten me clients is I'm quirky and awkward, but I'm good at what I do, so I'm just honest and upfront with them. And then with starting this business, you know, it's pretty good because I can share my faith, you know, however I want. If it comes up organically, it does. How I do it in my normal life is how I'll do it in my business life. Is I'm a little bit more, you know, walk the walk instead of, you know, always sharing with words.
Yeah.
You know, there's a time and a place for everything. But I think, you know, God's got everyone exactly where they're supposed to be. Doesn't mean you don't share and you're commissioned to do something. But I think if I, you know, just show like, you know, the true meaning of, you know, Christ, not what you see on TV with these, you know, fake commercials of what people think God is. And, you know, honestly, there's extremes on both sides. But, you know, it's really just about just walking the walk for him. And then I think, you know, it rubs off the right way for people. But, yeah, I feel like I can be myself to answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you for answering my question. That was good, though. No, and I think you both kind of jumped ahead, cheated, looked ahead on the sheet. But
did we cheat?
You know, I was going to ask how you guys tie in your faith, and you know, I didn't talk about it on, you know, my little stint when I kind of went at first. But you know, I've noticed too that I'm a little more open, you know, at work. Like you know, I've talked to you guys off the record too, like just a little bit more, you know, open to discussing my faith or with people, or like, you know, letting people know like on Wednesdays, like, you know, I need to leave at 4 so I can go to church and be there and be present. And, you know, it's something that I do look forward to, and it's something that's important. And, you know, I've had, I've had a few candidates that I've met that, you know, I see on their resumes that they volunteered. Well, I say volunteered because that's what they call it. But I mean, like serving and like FCA, is that fellow Christian athletes? Yeah. And one in particular comes to mind where I like literally talked to him for, I don't know, like 30 extra minutes just because we were talking about just serving and how he's like a youth pastor and stuff like that. And then I remember another woman that I called. She was a reference for this other candidate that I called, and she does mission trips to, Guatemala, and so we got to talking about that, and you know, it's just it comes out, and you know, there's people I work with that, you know, are open about their faith too, and it's just nice, you know, when you can do that and whatnot. But, and I think you guys kind of touched on it too, but do you think it's our responsibility, you know, as Christians to kind of talk about our faith, you know, at work? Do you think there's a time and a place? Like, what do you guys think about that? And Stephen, I think your answer, I think, will differ a lot different than, you know, differ a lot different. Is that did I say that right? From me, and I don't think so. But I'm not an English major. But I think it'll be different than how me and Chris answer too, because I think, like I said, with me, I work for a company, but it's like I run my own business in a sense, and I can building my own book of business. So how I portray myself is really, I guess, everything, because it's how people will pick and choose to trust me, work with me, build that relationship with me. So I'm curious though, like, what are your guys' thoughts on, is it our jobs to spread, the word in the workplace, or?
I mean, like, my personal thought is it's not like it's our commission as Christians on this world to go out and be disciples, go and make disciples. So whether it's in the workplace or not doesn't necessarily matter. And I like what you said, Chris, too. You don't always have to be like preaching the word. It's kind of just your walk. And like, so me personally, how do I share my faith at work? I mean, there's probably not going to be a lot of times where the conversation is going to organically come up, because just the nature of what I do. I'm talking about IT stuff all day. So probably not going to get the chance to preach, but I think just in my walk, like, I think as Christians, we should be hard workers. We should be, like, let your yes be yes, your no be no. Like, we should be committed to the commitments we make. Like, there's just certain ways we carry ourselves that might set us apart differently than others. Obviously, being kind to one another and loving one another. So, like, there's ways you can be a witness to the people around you without necessarily having to preach all day. And I think still make an impact. And people do notice. I get comments all the time, like, that I'm different in some way, and that might spark a conversation. Depending on the situation. So I agree with Chris. The Lord has everyone where He has them, and like I said, right now my job isn't necessarily tied to my faith, but I can still be a witness where I am just by my walk.
100%. And then what you said there kind of, and I don't know if you remember this, Stephen, but when we were playing volleyball, Tommy Street, good old Tommy Street, he always mentioned how, like, his how his father got saved was through the Grace and Truth softball league, and how he said, like, when he was younger too, he noticed that, like, those people that played in the league were different, like, they're supposed to stand out, like, we're supposed to be different in one way or another. And I don't know, it just made me think of that when you said that, and I don't know if you remember him ever saying that, or if
yeah, I think so. Yeah. The other thing is too, like, you're not gonna, like, it's the way you carry yourself. So, like, for example, like, and this isn't to be everyone's different in their own decisions, and it's just a personal thing. But, like, if I'm going out with a bunch of people from work at happy hour, I might conduct myself in a little bit of a different way than others. And it's not to say that I'm better than anyone else, like my coworkers, but it's, as a Christian, without even thinking about it, I'm going to make different decisions than others. And whether that makes an impact on somebody else or not doesn't really matter, but someone could notice the way you walk. And it's almost like if you decided to conform more to the world and then started proclaiming you're a Christian, well, then people are going to notice that, and they're going to be like, well, that's kind of contradictory. So it's not as much preaching everywhere you go, but it's just making sure, like, your walk really does back up it's your fruit, I guess. And I'm not perfect. So
I agree. No, I think,
but.
No, I mean, we're not supposed to be perfect, and I
Right.
think too, I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys again. This is something we talked about, like, off air or whatever, off record, but me and Sarah obviously are expecting our son come June, and we talk about all the time that, like, we have to, obviously we watch what we say, we watch what we do, and stuff like that as Christians, but it's also, it's how you react, I think, a lot of the times. And I think that's where we can really stand out and be different too, is people see, like, when things don't go our way, or, we may be facing, like, some trials and tribulations and whatnot. And it's how you react, and it's just like the same thing I told her, like, our son's gonna, react or see how we react to each other. Like, if we have an argument and she walks away and I mumble something under my breath, like, that's not very, that's not the Christian godly man that I should be, you know what I mean, for her or to him, or be a role model, and I think sometimes like it's those little things that we don't really think about that people see and people notice that are like, hey, like why didn't Steven react that way, or why was he still kind to me after I caught him in line for lunch, or whatever, you know what I mean, like something little, or Ron didn't flick that guy off at traffic. I told you guys last week, I don't waste my sins on random people, you know what I mean, like I gotta know him. I'm just kidding.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, we kind of went off there, Chris, and we excluded you for a little bit. So what are your thoughts?
No, that's fair. I mean, the question kind of blended together naturally before, because you said personal and like, can you be yourself? And what myself is reflects from my faith a lot. I'm far from perfect, and I think I don't know if it's a different take, but I found a lot of my conversations too at work weren't just with non-believers. They were with other Christians. Mm-hmm. You could take like one or two paths with it. Like, hey, how do I feel about, the people that are preaching outside of like a baseball stadium, holding up signs of like fire and brimstone stuff, and, telling everyone that they're going to help. Sorry, my cat is freaking out in the background.
I could hear him. What are they?
He hunts his stuffed animals at night, and he brings them to his nest. So when he has them in his mouth, because he's the alpha, he's parading around with it.
I understand. I did the same thing.
Exactly.
There falls asleep.
There you go. So basically there's that. But I found myself, I'm kind of disliked by both sides a lot. I have very strong convictions, and I take, I wouldn't say extra liberties that believers would take, but I'm pretty, strong with my liberties. Like I drink, I don't get drunk, but I like my alcohol. So that's an issue right there, where a lot of Christians would just have a major problem with that. And then the other side would look at you and be like, hey, you're a Christian, but you're drinking. Like, so, I just
That's an interesting podcast topic, drinking.
Yeah. I think foreshadowing. Stay tuned.
Definitely. But I'd have a lot of conversations with both sides of people. Obviously, I'm closer with one group of people, but there's, once you get to know me, you'll realize I don't want to say open-minded, because that takes us down a wrong path, but I'm very non-judgmental of what's going on in the world, and I think it's a better approach to share what I honestly believe. And I do believe in truths and absolutes, so don't want people to think I don't, but I'm a lot more open-minded, I guess, than people would think with stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair, and I think too, like I think Steven said, like that's a great it's a great podcast topic. Maybe we can talk about all of our maybe things that I don't know what you would call that.
I think liberties is kind of like they talk about it at our church a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's really all I had for you guys today. But I did want to share something, because I'm listening to a book, because I don't know how to read that well. And I'm listening to a book right now, and it's called Dialed In. And I recommend it to both of you. It's a great audio book. It's called Dialed In, and it's Reaching Your Full Capacity as a Man of God. It's by Jim Ramos. I don't know if you guys, either one of you, have heard of it or read it. But I just wanted to, I took this little piece, and it was, he was talking to, in the one of the early chapters of it, he was talking about this lumberjack, and an experienced lumberjack said, give me 6 hours to chop a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And the author then turned around and said, give me 100 years to serve God, and I'll spend the first 20 sharpening my life, and every day after keeping it sharp. And I just thought that was, I don't know, just, wow. I don't even know how it ties into this episode or whatnot, but
it kind of sounds like it fits, doesn't it? I mean, that's what
I feel like it does. I mean, I'm not 20 years in by any means, but I think that the more you're in the Word and the more you're sharpening your axe, I think the more you can handle. To me, it's just like handling everyday things, like kind of what I said, and Chris also what you said, and Stephen, it also applies to what you said. Like, you're going to carry yourself differently, but it's you do that because we are sharpening our axe, whether it be, in the mornings or in independent men groups or, fellowship. I mean, this right here is just another way for us to kind of come together and talk about it. But it was just a quote that I wanted to share with the both of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Awesome.
kind of what Steven was saying too, and I guess I'll stop talking after this, but I think, would it be wrong, like the approach that Steven takes, because he does work in more of a corporate environment, like you said, you're in corporate, but you have your own book of business, you're your own CEO. I'm self-employed. Isn't that the approach that most Christians probably take, even if they don't want to admit it to themselves? Like, because you always think, oh, you got to get out there and you got to evangelize, and there's like people that are proselytizing, all that different stuff. But like, wouldn't most people agree that that's the best approach, like the way that Steven does it? I would. I mean, I think it's the most realistic. The world's been so hurt by so many.
Yeah.
Well,
people.
Yeah. And I'll just say too, I mean, let's be honest, like in my current job, I mean, with the role that I'm in and the responsibilities I have, honestly, if I were to go around throughout my day preaching Jesus at every meeting, I probably would be fired. and not because I'm preaching Jesus, just because I'm not doing my job. Yeah, so 100%. It's kind of like, if you choose to work, in the job that I have, like honestly, I think it's more, you're honoring Jesus more by just doing your job and doing it well and doing it in a way that honors him. Now, is it my idol? No, but I don't think going throughout my day and every meeting and, causing people who aren't Christians to pray or read the Bible, like I think people would just be like, what the heck's going on here? So I think like that's a very extreme example, but I think the best way I can be a witness is, what we talked about, like just your example, and it could organically come up, and that's more the Spirit of the Lord. Like he'll open up opportunities for you to maybe say something on the side, or he's in the past, like he's opened my eyes to other believers who I work with, and then that's kind of a blessing. So it's like he'll open up opportunities for you. But yeah, if you're going around like preaching all day, well then quit your job and go be a preacher.
Yeah. And I think too, like Chris said, I think I'm always a firm, like, I don't know, I'm not aggressive, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like, here comes the spoon with the airplane, you know what I mean? And I'm not shoveling it in, you know what I mean? Like I kind of am just like, I'll carry myself, and just like how you're saying, like I'll carry myself and I'll do what I have to do professionally. And it should reflect, like everything should be reflected in our faith, like what we do everything should be reflected. But yeah, I think what a great way to close it out, a little quote, a little tune in next week.
See if I'm still employed.
But yeah, see if we're all still employed now.
Yeah, I know. This podcast got out.
No, but yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a journey, and it's been a fun one. I think you will now all probably think we're all a little bit more wild. Someone in here has had 28 jobs, and it was me. Steven worked at an Arby's on the Thruway, and then Chris worked at Pontillo's, but he calls it the Bellas. So I don't know which one it was, but we're gonna figure it out. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks.
Get a countdown going?
Ooh.